The Battle of North Point was fought on September 12, 1814, between General John Stricker's Maryland militia and a British force led by Major General Robert Ross. Although tactically a British victory, the battle delayed the British advance against Baltimore, buying valuable time for the defense of the city. The engagement was a part of the larger Battle of Baltimore, a strategic American victory in the War of 1812. Major General Robert Ross had been dispatched to Chesapeake Bay with a brigade of veterans from the Duke of Wellington's army early in 1814, reinforced with a battalion of Royal Marines. He had defeated a hastily assembled force of Maryland and District of Columbia militia at the Battle of Bladensburg on August 24, 1814, and burned Washington. Having disrupted the American government, he withdrew to the waiting ships of the Royal Navy at the mouth of the Patapsco River before heading further up the Chesapeake Bay to the strategically more important port city of Baltimore. Ross's army of 3,700 troops and 1,000 Marines landed at North Point at the end of the peninsula between the Patapsco River and the Back River on the morning of September 12, 1814, and began moving toward the city of Baltimore. What happened that day changed the course of American history and taught the British an important lesson: never prod a hornet's nest.
We had a lot of ships and we sailed out of our harbor into the Chesapeake Bay. Now the British had a large navy, and they would take our young men and make them slaves on their ships, called impressments. Now the Baltimore ship owners were called privateers, and they were angry with the British, so they would attack the British ships and steal our young men back, and some of the other booty off the ships as well. Now this made the British even angrier, and they wanted to get back at the Baltimore privateers and shut them down and secure our harbor for their own.
Oh, privateers, kind of like pirates.
Exactly, the pirates of the Chesapeake.
You see, General Ross and Admiral Cockburn spied our house and thought that it would be a good place to rest and have a meeting before the long march up to Baltimore. So he sent his troops out to gather more supplies, and then him and his staff took up our entire first floor. He sent the entire family upstairs. Why, we were scared to death. And then,
Oh, sit, Mother, I'll tell it. I was on the stairs running up to my bedroom when one of those soldiers pulled me up to him.
Oh, I can't listen, I can't bear it.
It's all right, Mother, I'm fine now. What happened? What happened? The soldier pulled me up to him, and I just knew he was going to kiss me right on the lips. Heavens, no! Yes!
God save us!
What did you do? I found the strength of 1,000 men, broke free of his grasp, ran up the stairs, and jumped right out the landing window. Heavens, how did you survive?
Praise to the angels, my baby!
baby girl.
Mother!
Well, luckily the slaves had been plucking chickens the day before, and they took all those feathers and placed them in the old wooden barrel right under that very window. I landed in the feathers without a scratch on me, which is more than I can say for that lieutenant.
Yes, Admiral Ross. He had him arrested and marched up to the fleet immediately.
It was probably his good fortune, for he would have wound up lying in a pool of his own blood if he had made it to 3 p.m. and fought in the battle that happened here. His roving eye and penchant for young girls saved his life.
Yes, but he did right by my Eleanor. Oh, look! We have a souvenir!
What is it?
It's a sleeping cap! The General left it!
Well, save it! It might be worth something someday, especially since the General is dead now. What happened next?
Well, the troops started marching up the long road to Baltimore. But before they left, they noticed that big hornet's nest hanging by our gate.
Well, I guess they don't have hornets' nests in England, because one of those soldiers pierced it with his bayonet.
Oh, luckily, we were looking out of the upstairs window. You could hear those screaming soldiers as they were running up the road.
Where'd you get those?
Down.
White-headed flies!
Oh, well, that should have taught them to never prod a hornet's nest.
General Ross instead. Oh.
Amen, amen.
Actually, no one knows what would have happened if it hadn't been for the two great sharpshooters, Daniel Wells and Henry McCall. They were so brave that day. They were only 19 and 21 years old. They died that day too. But, well, who knows what would have happened if those two boys had not taken out General Ross.
I heard he was going to take his troops and march them from North Point all the way to Baltimore.
Oh, the outcome of the battle would have been very different then.
Why, Baltimore City and Baltimore County could be under British rule right now. You know, they burned Washington down just 3 weeks ago. And Dolly Madison, our First Lady, had to run out of the White House holding the portrait of President Washington in her bare hands. Can you imagine?
Oh, such a shame, such a shame. Well, we might have lost the battle here at North Point, but they didn't take Baltimore.
Well, we heard some musket fire.
And then they dragged it about 1.5 miles back towards the peninsula.
Yes, but by the time they got there, General Ross was already dead.
Oh,
But I must say, my horse and cart were promptly returned.
well, that's wonderful news. But I have something very interesting to tell you. I heard that they took General Ross's body and put it in a barrel of rum to preserve it, and then put it on the ship, His Majesty's Royal Oak.
Oh, I guess no one will be drinking that rum. A perfect gift for King George.
Birthday gifts are hard to find for kings who don't know what to give to royals. Birthday gifts for kings are hard to find, especially for King George, the King of England. Do you buy him shoes or handmade flowers, cakes or rings? Jewels he has too many, 'cause he's quite contrary. So we'll give him one especially for his tum-tum. We'll flavor it with special care, and we'll leave out the underwear, so it will taste so nice. Flavor with our special spice. We'll even add an extra dash to give it just the right panache. This spice has special cost, you know its name is General Ross. He'll drink his rum, savor some, will like the taste, the rest are taste. The perfect gift for our great old tyrant, old King George. Salute!
Drink King George to Baltimore tonight. Drink King George to Baltimore tonight.
Drink King George to Baltimore, yes, drink King George to Baltimore, yes, drink tonight. Drink King George to Baltimore, yes, drink King George to Baltimore, yes, drink tonight.
They noticed the British soldiers coming off the point. They hoisted the flag which signaled the Americans in the harbor. Then they sailed down to Fort McHenry to let them know the British are here. We just stopped down to see how our house and property survived. So sorry they burned down your house.
We survived, just not the house. We'll rebuild, and we'll stay in the granary until we do. But because of this battle right here in North Point in Baltimore County, and because we shot and killed the British leader, General Ross, the British just didn't have the stamina or the will to take our brave city, Baltimore.
Oh, we must place a wreath and say a prayer for those 2 sharpshooters, Daniel Wells and Henry McComas, who took down General Ross. Right here, right down the road from Bread and Cheese Creek.
If that wouldn't have happened, maybe the British would have taken our harbor.
Well,
But they did.
they'd still be here. Maybe we'd even be under British rule by now.
But we aren't. They didn't take Baltimore by land or by sea. They've gone back to England, and good riddance to them.
We could see the rockets' red glare over the harbor as they tried to force our militia to surrender.
But we didn't quit, and they didn't quit.
For our flag was still there.
Oh, say does that star-spangled banner yet wave for the land of the free and the home of the
States to continue its expansion into the Northwest Territory was opposed by Great Britain, and along with trade restrictions imposed by the British and the impressment of American citizens that caused the U.S. to declare war on Britain. This became known as the War of 1812. In June of 1813, Major Armistead was assigned to take command of Fort McHenry. He commissioned Mary Pickersgill to sew 2 flags for use at the fort. The larger flag, later to be known as the Star-Spangled Banner, was 30 feet by 42 feet. and would have 15 stars and 15 stripes. Pickersgill spent approximately 6 to 8 weeks to make the flags, which she delivered to the fort in August of 1813. She was paid $544.74 for her work. Francis Scott Key, a lawyer, and John Stuart Skinner, an American prisoner exchange agent, were invited aboard a British ship anchored in the harbor to negotiate the release of the U.S. prisoners. Because of the bombardment of the fort, Key and Skinner were not allowed to leave the ship, but could only watch the action from the deck. At sunrise, Key was inspired by seeing the American flag still waving over the fort. The attack by land and by sea was not able to force the surrender of Fort McHenry, and the British called off the bombardment and withdrew. On his way back to Baltimore, Key, being a poet, described his experience by writing a poem to fit the music of John Stafford Smith's popular British drinking song. When Key's poem was set to music and renamed the Star-Spangled Banner, it eventually became the official national anthem of the United States of America. The British, after finding that Baltimore would not fall as easily as Washington, ceased their assault on the city. As a direct result of the failure to capture Baltimore, the British negotiating position was weakened. The Battle of North Point was decisive in determining the end of the War of 1812. 3 months later, on Christmas Eve in Gaunt, Belgium, a peace treaty was signed. Had it not been for the courageous defenders of Baltimore in September of 1814, the United States might have gone the way of Washington, D.C. The young nation known as the United States of America might have ceased to exist and may have become a mere footnote in the history of the world. For that, all Americans owe the defendants of North Point a significant debt.
Well, ladies, I think we taught those Brits a thing or two about never prod the hornet's nest.